My grandson's wife called me a servant in front of everyone, but my reaction was shocking. The insult didn't arrive wrapped in anger. It didn't come with shouting or sharp words. It came with laughter. And that was what cut the deepest. We were gathered in the living room, the house humming with voices and polite smiles. Family members sat shoulder to shoulder. Neighbors I barely recognized sipped tea from delicate cups. Even a few distant relatives had shown up, the kind who only appear when food is plentiful and appearances matter. The air was warm with the scent of cardamom tea and freshly baked bread. I had been awake since before sunrise, kneading dough with aching fingers, standing over a hot stove while my knees protested every movement. My back burned, my feet throbbed, but I kept going. Because that is what I had done my entire life. Quietly, faithfully, without complaint. I was placing a tray of teacups on the table, careful not to spill a drop when she spoke. "Oh, just leave it there," my grandson's wife said casually, waving her hand without even glancing in my direction. Then she laughed, light, careless, and added, loud enough for everyone to hear, "She's basically our servant anyway." The room froze. Conversation collapsed into silence so thick I could hear my own breathing. For a heartbeat I convinced myself I had misunderstood. Surely she hadn't meant me. Surely she hadn't reduced decades of love and sacrifice into a single cruel word, spoken so easily, so comfortably, as if it were an accepted truth. I slowly straightened my back. My hands trembled not from age but from something far deeper, something sharper, something that burned its way through my chest. I had raised my grandson from the age of 6 after his parents died. I had become his mother and father overnight. I cooked every meal, washed every uniform, walked him to school and waited up late when he was sick. I sat beside his bed during fevers, whispered prayers when he went astray, and stood alone at every parent-teacher meeting pretending I wasn't exhausted or afraid. And now, this. I looked around the room. Some people stared down into their cups. Some suddenly found interest in their phones. A few shifted uncomfortably in their seats. No one spoke. Not even my grandson. That silence told me everything I needed to know. I gently placed the tray on the table. And instead of shouting, instead of crying, instead of defending myself, I smiled. A life of quiet sacrifice. People often mistake silence for weakness. They see an old woman who walks slowly, who doesn't argue, who keeps her voice soft and her eyes lowered, and they assume she has nothing left inside her. They don't see the years she carries. I was widowed at 38. My husband left this world suddenly without warning, leaving me with a modest house, a grieving child, and no safety net. I worked wherever I could, sewing late into the night, cooking for others, tutoring neighborhood children, never asking for help, never believing I deserved it. When my grandson married, I welcomed his wife into my home with open arms. I gave them the master bedroom. I moved myself into the small room at the back where sunlight barely reached. I paid the utility bills. I cooked every meal. I watched their children while they went out to live their lives. I never asked for gratitude. I believed respect would come naturally. I was wrong. The insult that changed everything. After her remark, conversation eventually resumed, but something inside me had shifted, quietly, decisively. It felt like a door closing deep within my chest. That evening, after the guests left and the house echoed with emptiness, dishes stacked high in the sink, she spoke again. "Amy," she said without looking up from her phone, "make sure you clean the living room properly. We're hosting friends tomorrow." I looked at her. Not with anger. With clarity. I nodded once and replied softly, "Of course." That night, while the house slept peacefully, I didn't cry. I planned. The morning after. By morning, the house was immaculate. The floors gleamed, the cushions were perfectly arranged, breakfast sat covered neatly on the table, still warm beneath its cloth. Then I packed my small suitcase. Inside were my clothes, my identification papers, and something far more valuable, every legal document tied to that house. Before leaving, I placed a sealed envelope on the dining table, exactly where they would see it. Then I walked out. the shock they never expected. By noon, my phone began to ring. Once, twice, again and again. Finally, my grandson's voice came through, tight with panic. "Daddies, where are you?" "I'm safe," I said calmly. "Why did you leave, and what is this letter?" I took a slow breath. "That house," I said gently, "belongs to me. I never transferred ownership. I only allowed you to live there." Silence. "And now," I continued, "I've decided to sell it." "What, you can't do that," his wife shouted in the background. I smiled, though they couldn't see it. "I can," I replied, "and I have." The letter explained everything. That I loved them. That I had supported them willingly. But that love does not require humiliation. It gave them 30 days to vacate. Not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. The aftermath. They came to see me that evening, frantic, apologetic, confused, angry. She cried. He pleaded. "I didn't mean it like that," she said. "It was just a joke." I looked at her kindly. "Jokes reveal truth," I said softly, "and truth has consequences." For the first time in years, I stood tall. "I was never your servant," I continued. "I was the foundation beneath your feet, and you forgot that foundations can be removed." What shocked them most? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her back. I didn't curse them. I simply walked away, with my dignity intact. That was what shocked them most. A new beginning. I moved into a small apartment near the mosque. It was simple, quiet, peaceful. The money from the house ensured my comfort and funded a charity scholarship in my late husband's name. I still love my grandson. But now love comes with boundaries. The lesson: never mistake kindness for weakness. Never confuse age with helplessness. And never forget, those who serve out of love are not servants. They are choosing to stay. And one day, they may choose to leave.